September, Monday. So today was the first day back from summer, and I gotta say, it was pretty boring. Since Rowley got grounded for the whole summer, I've had nobody to hang out with. All I could think about was the middle school reopening, and after last year's fiasco, I'm surprised they pulled it off at all. I even heard there were a few accidents renovating part of the C wing, but school should reopen tomorrow anyways. I just hope the day goes well tomorrow. Tuesday. As expected, the day went as well as you would think. I got pushed around during the day. I guess not everyone was happy about me being the cause of the school's reopening and them being forced back here. Thanks a lot, jerk. However, it didn't go as badly as I expected. One of my main bullies, Chucky, disappeared a few days ago while trying to break into the school. People are saying that he wanted to get a look at the construction, and after that, he was never seen again. I think that's a lot of baloney, but several people have gone missing since. Rowley was pretty shaken up, but I was able to calm him down after a while. He thinks that he's going to be taken one day too, and that he'll never see his parents again. But I comforted him and talked him down.
It'll be fine, Rowley. Relax. Nobody's getting hurt.
Though a lot of us think this is just one big coincidence, a lot of others believe that this is something serious, and that we should be taking action to protect ourselves. A few of the other guys even suggested a plan to find out who was doing this, and I heard it involved some mayonnaise and bells, so I don't buy it. There are even a few rumors about who's making people disappear, and some of them even seem pretty believable. Albert Sandy even started a rumor that the cause of these disappearances were vampires. I don't know where he got that one from, but a few people actually started believing him. For a while after, people were talking about how vampires like to live in dark corners, and that they drink people's blood and convert them. I don't really know what to say about that. I'm probably going to lay low for a while, just in case something is really wrong. Even though I think this is all just one big coincidence, I don't want to take any chances. Friday. It happened. Bryce Anderson has gone missing yesterday, and everybody is starting to freak out. Even though Bryce was the biggest jock in our grade, he was taken, and nobody has any idea on why. There were girls crying in every one of my classes, and some even built shrines to him.
The student Bryce Anderson has gone missing. Please report any sightings to the administration.
Ever since the incident, Rowley has been getting worse. I've even heard that his parents want to pull him from school, and I wish that could be me right now. Since then, we've been discussing what to do if it decides to come for us. We came up with a few plans to trap it, if it is a thing inside a box. But I don't think he understands why that wouldn't work. From what I heard, Bryce went to the town gym and nobody saw him leave. Albert Sandy was telling people that somebody could have murdered Bryce in the shower room and hid the body. But I don't think that's going anywhere. The school announced a vigil for Bryce on the weekend, in hopes of his safe return. The thing that makes me mad is that the school never did any of this for other people who disappeared weeks previously, only to make the school look good. Rowley said he's going to pay his respects, but I'm not sure myself. Monday. Well, I decided to go to the town vigil last night. The church that my family goes to decided to run it for the town, so Mom used her veto power to force us all to go. When we arrived, it was much quieter than I expected. A lot of kids that I would have expected to be there weren't, and I didn't want to think of why. I was wrong about the school only doing it for Bryce. Along with him, there were several other memorials for other students that had disappeared. Even a teacher, Miss Lackey, had disappeared between periods, and it just made me sad. Later on, the police chief made a speech in front of all of us. He said that he would find who was responsible for the disappearances, and that the culprits would be brought to justice. Just as I was preparing to leave, Holly Hills greeted me. "Your name is Greg Heffley, right?" Apparently, she remembered my name after all. I said hello, and we talked for a few minutes. She explained that she had gotten scared after Bryce had disappeared, and that the rest of her friends had heard rumors of other people disappearing while inside of their homes, and even somebody disappearing while inside a bathroom. After this quick chat, she said that we could talk some other time if I wanted to, and then quickly left. I don't know what this situation is becoming, but it's not just the school anymore. I'm starting to get worried. Mom is already getting worried about what's happening in Plainview. She explained to me that she was thinking of taking me out of school until this whole situation blows over. You see, Greg, I just think that it's not safe anymore. After hearing stories like these, I don't want to lose you too. I explained that the school was the only time I got to see other people, and that it would be fine for me to remain for a while longer. Rodrick is already thinking of using this chaos to convince Mom to let him leave town for a while. The way things are going, I don't blame her for saying yes. I'll see how things go from here. Thursday. The last few days have been rough. The school has settled into a new normal since last week's vigil, but none have been returned, or heard from for that matter. The local news says about 3% of the entire town is now missing, and it just doesn't feel the same. It is as if a new atmosphere has come down on us.
Emergency alert. 3% of town missing. Stay alert.
Surprisingly, any news outside of our own local news seems to have not picked up on our story, as no major outlets are talking about us. Is Plainview really that small of a town? Classes have become smaller since that night, and theories are running rampant in our school. The tone has turned from vampires to some kind of organized gang targeting our town. I thought about it and realized how ridiculous that was. Me and Holly also talked again. Apparently, her uncle had disappeared 2 days ago, and nobody knows what could have happened. And then he just disappeared without a trace, and we didn't hear any noise for a while. When we opened the door, he was gone. It looks like a lot of parents are threatening to pull their kids from school until something is done about the disappearances, including Holly's parents. When I ever get the guts to start something with her, it may already be too late for me. Even worse than that, Rowley has gotten bad since the night of the vigil. I guess the sight of seeing so many people grieve was too much for him, and his parents have decided to pull him from school. Since I'm an only child, this has been hard on my mom and dad. They don't want to take any chances with me. Sorry, Greg. Every day in my geography class, I have to look at Christopher Vigil's empty desk, and it reminds me of what's happening. Everyone moves around like zombies, including some of the teachers, waiting to see what will happen next, just trying to move on with their life, while pretending not to see the empty desks. Rodrick is already packing to leave, and I don't blame him. Sometimes I think that he's not actually concerned, and just using this to get out of the house for a while. He called his bandmates and told them to get ready to leave, and I think they're going to be gone for a while. Despite the situation, Dad seems disconnected from this, as if it's not happening at all. When we turn on the news or read the paper, he doesn't seem to care about it or seem concerned. Oh shoot, that doesn't look good. I'm thinking that Dad may be in on what's going on around town. But to be fair, he's never felt anything before, so it makes sense. Still though, I'll have to keep my eye on him. Even Manny, since he came back from preschool, has been acting strangely. At the dinner table, he never talks as much as he used to, and he never calls me a ploopy anymore, which is really weird. At night, I can hear him moving around his room, talking to himself in a way I can't really understand right now. I've been looking at some of his drawings too, and they've been disturbing, to say the least. Every day now, it seems like the mayor is going to call an emergency, but it just never comes. It feels like I'm walking through insanity, but it just never gets to me. When I log onto the internet late at night, I see the profiles of people that have disappeared. Other than a sudden stop of updates, nobody seems to notice, and nobody checks on them, just as if it's part of our daily life now. Nobody on the outside notices us anymore. No other news station even noticed us. Meanwhile, ours is broadcasting unrelenting panic. It seems like ever since I asked Mom if I could stay in school, she's been getting worse, just like Rowley had. Mom seems consistently worried about me and Rodrick, and I want to ride it out just another week or two, just to see what's going to happen. I haven't heard from Shirag in a few days, so I'll need to check on that tomorrow. Good night. Monday. So today was another day of school, and it seemed that there were even fewer people than there were last week. I guess a lot of kids disappeared over the weekend. Anyways, I asked around, and turns out that nobody had seen Shirag either. As I said in my last entry, I looked for Shirag online, and it looks like he had dropped off the face of the earth. I think he was taken too. Surprisingly, nobody bullied me today. I guess things are becoming hard for everyone. Needless to say, I don't think this is all a coincidence anymore. Now that I think of it, I haven't seen Rowley for a few days. He didn't come online over the weekend, and I really hope it doesn't mean what I think it means. Today, Rodrick talked to me for a while about what's happening around the town. Greg, we need to talk about what's happening right now. Rodrick told me things that I had never heard on the news before. He said that people are not disappearing by some kind of gang or serial killer, but by what he described as an unnatural, compelling force. I didn't know what that meant, so I pressed him further. He told me that during those phone calls with his bandmates, they were talking about leaving. Rodrick said that it was during one of those discussions that they realized that this couldn't be a work of a single person, or even the work of an entire criminal underworld. The police, or what's left of the police, would have found a clue or direction by now. They concluded that there was no real way to fight whatever was happening, and their best option was to run away and regroup. If any external news was unaffected by whatever was happening here, then they were thinking that they could run to the next few towns over and regroup. He said that we were already packing to leave, and asked if I wanted to come with him. He said that once he was gone, he was never looking back until this whole situation was over. Rodrick told me that there was room in his van for me, and that I could come along with them if I wanted to, that I was not expecting to hear from them. I thought about it, and I told him that I didn't think it was worth leaving everything behind. I didn't want to run away. I'm sorry, Rodrick, but I can't run away from Plainview. I don't want to leave my copy of Twisted Wizard. At least he's got his priorities in mind. Rodrick said that that was fine, but that he didn't want to force me to do anything that I didn't feel like doing. He told me to stay awake and to not become subservient to whatever would come after. Before he left, he asked one more time if I wanted to go with him. I said that I couldn't, and he got a resigned look in his eye before driving off. Goodbye, Greg. After he left for good, I almost regretted my decision. While I don't want to leave my old life behind and go with him for who knows how long, I'm also worried about what would become of us. If things keep getting worse, I don't know what I'll do. Since Rodrick's leave, Mom seems to be a lot quieter than she usually is. She does the daily tasks, cleaning, cooking, writing for her newspaper column. It just seems like the spark of her soul has left. Even the newspaper is reporting on it now, which is usually just funny pages and sports sections. The Daily Herald. Crowds of people disappear daily. Plainview in a panic. It has been reported that a large portion of our population has disappeared without a trace over the last several weeks. The PVPD are left dumbfounded as they try to uncover what the true nature of these disappearances have. Though it seems unlikely, we have not ruled out gang activity and are taking the appropriate steps. See Mystery A2. I don't think the police are doing what they should be doing. If what Rodrick says is true, then I have to assume the police are useless and even in on it at worst. But what do I know? Manny seems to not care much about what's going on, like Dad. Sometimes I don't really know what's going on with that kid. November, Thursday. The snow is really starting to fall this week. I guess we really are getting closer to winter. If people weren't disappearing, I think we would all be celebrating. Every day I go to school, more and more people are missing from my classes. Things just don't feel the same anymore. Ever since the snow started, we've been getting snow days from school. At least I won't be able to see the destruction firsthand. Everyone is getting paranoid of becoming the next victim. We're collectively calling this the Great Talking. The police say they've been investigating the disappearances as if they were murders, which I guess they are, and they haven't found a single clue. Plainview murders go unsolved. As the police investigate, several of their own officers have also gone missing during the investigation. They say that the only commonality between the cases is a sudden disappearance with no warning, leaving no trace of the victim behind. No struggle, no sound, nobody notices when they disappear. They say that the hardest part is that they have no witnesses that see the crime actually happen, so they don't know what to look for. Even they are getting scared. There's even talk of sending in the military, but I don't think anything new will come of that. I also talked to Holly again today, and she unfortunately told me what exactly I expected to hear. What's happening in your family is happening to mine. Everyone is scared, shutting themselves away from everyone else in fear. If this is a common thing now, then I know the entire town is going to hell. I thought of all of the people that may have a faint idea of what's happening, and it struck me. Alex Aruda. Alex was the smartest kid in my grade, and if anyone knew what was going on, it was him. I was able to track Alex down during our free period and as usual, he was studying in homeroom. I came up to him and asked what was going on. I guess a few people noticed me because soon there was a small crowd. After exchanging greetings, he spoke to us. I think what's happening here is no accident. Clearly, this is not the work of a gang or even a large organization. I think there is something else going on, bigger than any one group could achieve in such a short amount of time. I think that shook us all. We were expecting some kind of criminal underworld or even a virus outbreak, but what he was saying was beyond anything we had expected. He went on. Alex explained that what we were seeing could be the cause of a government weapons test or some kind of conspiracy that went all the way up to some higher ups in the government. He explained that only someone with the resources of a nation and the power of one could cover up the news. Alex said that, if he was true, the reason our town was selected was that we would be too small for anyone to ever miss. This really freaked us all out, and we decided we had heard enough. I think that after that, we were all pretty paranoid. Ever since getting back from the vigil a few weeks ago, I haven't seen Rowley around, and I think that he went missing. I tried to text him over the phone, but I've gotten no response. I don't know how I'll get through this without him. When I came home from school today, I think I even heard Mr. and Mrs. Jefferson crying through an open window. The snow is really starting to come down now, and I hope it means that I'll get to stay away from school for a while longer. If this really is some government weapons test, or some gang taking people out when nobody's looking, this snow cover will really help them. I just hope I can keep me and my family safe if they ever decide to come for us. Wednesday. I think Mom disappeared. I never expected this to happen. I really can't believe it. It started this morning. Mom and Dad have started arguing about the newspaper and what they should do next. Well, today was pretty heated compared to most. After yelling up an absolute storm for about 15 minutes, Mom stormed upstairs to her room and slammed the door in Dad's face. Dad simply got a rage-filled, blank expression and headed downstairs for breakfast after. For a while, I thought I could hear crying coming through the wall, but I couldn't be sure. After a while, I think Dad came to his senses and headed upstairs. After knocking and waiting for a few minutes, he opened the door and found the room empty. After about 5 minutes of looking in every corner of the room, calling for Mom, I think he finally broke. He just got a glazed over look in his eye and told me to call the police right away. I didn't ask questions, and I called them. Several minutes later, a squad car showed up at the door. The officer introduced himself as Sergeant Timothy. After exchanging names, Dad led Timothy into Mom's room and explained the situation to him. When I opened the door to try to talk to her, she was just gone, as if she was never here. Once the two were done talking, Timothy walked around the room and did what I thought was some investigating. Then he turned to Dad and explained what was happening. Officer Timothy explained that when people disappeared, it was always a single person while being unobserved. He explained that it always went the same way, regardless on who the person was or what they were doing. The only two things in common were that they were alone and that no trace was left behind. It was as if they left the room like nothing happened and then poof. After the brief talk, the officer explained that the situation was overflowing with missing persons cases and that there was literally nothing he could do, even after Dad begged him to do something, anything. In the end, there was nothing to be done. Then, unceremoniously, he left us alone. Dad got real quiet after that, sitting down on the couch for a while, without saying anything for a long while. It seemed like our collective world was peeling apart, one family member at a time, and there was nothing either of us could do. After thinking for a while, Dad gathered me and Manny into the living room and talked to us. He explained that Manny was in my hands now, and that I should be looking after my brother from now on. I asked him why he couldn't look after Manny since he was older. He explained that he was too old to look after Manny by himself, and that I should be focusing on him. That sounded stupid, but I didn't argue with him. He simply gave me a pat on the back and went back to the couch, probably to watch more sports, but I didn't really care. After Dad was gone, I looked at Manny and asked if he wanted a drink. I swear, as soon as I said that, it seemed like Manny's expression changed to that of a pure primal rage towards me. Though it seemed innocent, something inside of me was terrified by it. I just gave him a look, then walked up to my room. As I'm writing this, I can hear Manny talking to himself in the next room over. I guess I'm the one looking after him now. I hope for my sake, in his own, that he's just talking to himself in there. Thursday. I feel like I'm going insane. Everybody is so quiet, keeping to themselves. I think the paranoia is starting to reach a fever pitch. Pretty soon, someone's going to break, and then it may start a huge domino effect. It doesn't matter who you are, you know somebody who has disappeared. Today at school, I met with Holly again. It went much like the other times, musing about how much we miss our old life and wishing that we could go back. When I finally brought up Mom, I felt like I was about to cry. Then something unexpected happened. Holly hugged me. The moment we made contact, a billion thoughts flooded my mind. All I could think of in that moment was her, as if we were the entire world. When we broke arms, I came back to my senses, and then I noticed that everyone was staring at us. Me and Holly said our goodbyes quickly and parted ways for the time being. A couple hours later, during lunch, we were anybody was talking about in the school lunch hall. I guess that, along with gossip, it was just something to get the situation off our minds. For the rest of the day, I couldn't concentrate in class. All I could think about was the moment I got to hug Holly Hills, when I truly felt free. When I came home from school, Dad was sitting down on the couch, reading the local newspaper. However, one thing was out of the ordinary with him. He seemed slightly concerned, not wanting to set him off any further. I went over to the family TV and switched it on.
How many people? How is that possible? That's what the mayor's office says. 7%. This is insane.
Apparently, 7% of Plainview is gone. Though it defies all possibility, our population is just shrinking more and more each day. They even say that the process is beginning to accelerate daily, so more and more people are disappearing. There are more and more people fleeing to Slacksville, but they've stopped accepting people. There are rumors that people who try to escape Plainview are unable to leave because of some kind of natural barrier that appeared. The news then said that the mayor has called in the military to clear up this whole situation and to find out once and for all what's happening. The police have all but given up, and more crime is happening daily. The sheriff's office is reporting as much as a dozen break-ins a day. It feels like I'm on a sinking ship as we spiral closer and closer to the center of a whirlpool. Or maybe I'm just insane already, not seeing what's really happening. I decided to just take a nap for a while to forget about the events of today. After an innumerable amount of time, I was suddenly awoken by Dad yelling, "Hup, hup, 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 let's go, let's go!" I guess it was time to have dinner, and since he was too lazy to do it, the job fell to me. Since I had never actually cooked dinner before, it didn't turn out so well. Eventually, I conceded and gave him junk to last the night. Once I gave Manny his food, I decided to just sit next to him and watch his kids' programming. It was dull, but it kept my mind occupied. After a while, I noticed that Manny wasn't entirely focused on the TV program, as I expected. Instead, he was looking out the front window onto the street. I couldn't quite make out what was there, but it seemed wrong, if you could understand that. Not that there was anything amiss, or anything specifically sticking out. It just seemed off to me, like walking into an old building you used to visit, and remembering almost forgotten things. I quickly averted my eyes and continued focusing on the television.
Let's be best friends.
As I write this, I can hear crying from the next room over. It sounds quiet, as if Dad is trying to keep it in. Mom is gone. Rodrick might be dead, or might have gotten out towards one of the other towns, but I don't know. Neither does Dad. I can also hear something from next door, where the Jeffersons live. I think they're going through the same as everyone else in Plainview. If something doesn't change soon, I think I'm gonna lose it. Everyone is hurting, and I can't take it much longer. What's happening should be impossible. I don't understand it at all. Maybe I really am just starting to lose my mind. Or maybe that happened a long time ago. I don't know anymore. Tuesday. School hasn't got any better recently. Since the school week started, barely anything has been done in school. Yesterday, Vice Principal Roy called an assembly.
All students, please report to the gym immediately.
For the first time since I remember, he called it for both students and faculty, which was a first. He said that this was really important, so I went. When we all got there, the assembly was hosted by Mr. Roy and the new police chief. Ever since the old chief had disappeared some weeks ago, A new one had been sworn in. As soon as everybody arrived, it started. The police chief introduced himself as Police Chief Graham. He explained that the military would soon arrive within 2 or 3 days, and that he expected our full cooperation during their stay. On the surface, it seemed like they wanted to organize with the military and uncover the cause of what's happening. I had my suspicions from what I had heard around the lunchroom and on the news. People were hesitant to allow the military to take over. From what they had seen during other occupations, things had not gone well. I just hoped that, regardless of the outcome, they would do their job. When we all fled out of the gymnasium and headed back to our classes, I thought about a possible escape plan. After thinking about it for a while, I remembered what the news said.
How many people have tried to leave already? At least 300 in the past week. I don't know what's there, but it can't be done.
From what they're saying, a barrier, whether natural or unnatural, has appeared around Plainview, mostly around the major access roads, forcing people to remain here. From what they say, it only appeared recently when the disappearances were linked. I really hope Rodrick got out. At this point, there's so much noise that I can hardly concentrate at school on the little work we were actually doing. Every hour now, I can hear crying in the next classroom over, only to be ushered out of the room. I tried to find Alex Aruda after the assembly to ask him about what he thinks about the military. When I arrived to his classroom, I found his seat empty. Now that I thought about it, I hadn't seen Alex around the school recently. Maybe he had figured out a way out and escaped. Or maybe he had disappeared. I really didn't know, and I didn't want to find out. The days are getting faster. Get up, feed Manny, go to school, come home from school, lay around, and go to sleep. It all feels like a blur to me. Ever since that night watching TV with Manny, I've had more of those episodes of me looking far away and it not seeming right. Yesterday, when I looked outside, I thought I heard a snowplow going through, but everything seemed fuzzy, as if there was a tiny bit of electricity running through everything. I'm really starting to get scared. I don't know if anybody else is seeing what I'm seeing, but nobody is saying anything about it. It's probably just a lack of sleep getting to me, or at least I hope that's all it is. Today is when it all started, where my real troubles began. I was sitting in my algebra class, or at least what was left of it, when I heard another announcement.
Attention all staff and students. This is a lockdown. This is not a drill.
Apparently, a lockdown has been called. None of us really knew what to do since the last time we practiced lockdown procedures was in the 6th grade. Needless to say, all hell broke loose when it was called. Everyone was freaking out, not knowing what to do. Pressure from the last 2 months of disappearances did not stack up well against it, and people were scared. We didn't need to wait long. As soon as we heard distant yelling coming from the hallway, and it didn't sound like a student, we all huddled around the door, trying to get a better listen. Suddenly, we all heard an ear-piercing scream coming from one of the classrooms further up. We all quickly backed away from the door and hid at the far wall, hoping to get away from whatever was attacking people. After about 10 minutes of hiding, we finally heard sirens in the distance. I guess the cops were delayed after all the disappearances, but they were finally here. Let me tell you, they do not take kindly to little stunts like these. Now, I had never actually heard a gunshot before, but they were loud. Before he got shot, he was yelling about all kinds of things. He was saying how it's eating us alive and that we would be trapped forever if we didn't take ourselves first. Well, let's just say that he stopped soon after. For a few minutes, nobody really said anything. Maybe they were focusing on the noise of the SWAT team swarming into the building, but we didn't know for sure. When the coast was clear, I decided to head out and look for Holly. I didn't know for sure what her current class was, or where she was, but I knew that she would be around somewhere. After about 5 minutes of walking, I noticed that the school had gotten awfully quiet, and that the voices of people had gotten quieter. I realized that, and after all this, I hadn't really given myself much time. I knew that this was not the place for writing time, but I decided that a few extra minutes couldn't hurt much. Once I sat down for a minute, I got up and kept walking the way I was going. The people's voices had gotten much quieter, almost faster than they should have. I looked around and remembered my goal, find Holly Hills. I had almost forgotten already. Around me there was a wall full of lockers and a row of empty classes. I guess everyone had already evacuated by now. I turned to go back the way I had come from, and after walking a little bit, I realized something. Is the school bigger than I thought? I had only walked for a few minutes, but it seemed like the hallway went on for a while. Of course, I could no longer hear the voices of the officers, or anyone for that matter. Probably just sleep deprivation. I'll write more later. So that is the end of part 1 of Diary of Wimpy Kid Encaved. I love the serious take of this story. There's no real jokes going around. People are disappearing and they have zero clue why. And they also can't leave Plainview as well. And that's such a scary situation to be in. Imagine one of your loved ones or one of your friends just disappeared out of the blue and nobody knew why, and it was becoming normal. Let me know your thoughts of the first half of this story in the comments down below. Part 2 will be coming out soon after this part, so definitely stay tuned for that. And that's gonna do it for me. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and take care.